I don't think one should retire, get a second mortgage, and take on a lease when you've never run a business. And many people have said, well, Sue, did you do a business class? There's lots of business classes you could take. But no, and I don't want to. If I had done a business class, I would have never jumped in. There's not that piece where you're self-reflecting and thinking of all the times maybe you didn't succeed in an artistic way. So I'm working with torches. And you really, I try to focus on what I'm doing, not like this all over the place, because I don't really want to blow up, Good morning, I'm Sue Moberly, and I currently own and teach at the Torn Edge Arts Metalsmith Studio on Monroe Street, where I specialize in jewelry making, metalsmithing, and a little bit of stained glass. And this is the Layered Onion. I think of jewelry as small sculpture.
Okay.
So honestly, what was it? It was space, equipment, and materials, money, all of those things. For me to take on larger projects like welding, I did not have space to do that. I was starting to work in a basement studio, and then I was in an extra bedroom studio. And so really it was a combination of those factors. But I really do look at a lot of the jewelry that I'm drawn to as a miniature sculpture. It's also wearable. The torn edge idea is something I like to incorporate in my own art making. And so when you look at a lot of my art, let me just grab a bracelet here. I'm not making a lot of pieces that are refined with beautiful diamond stone sets in them. I like a rugged, organic look. And so what I'm taking in this instance here is sheet silver, and I am basically melting all the edges. So I am taking it to the point of stress, and then I am incorporating other things into it and really giving it a raw kind of an edge. And that's what I enjoy in my art. Even like the ring I wear, it's very organic. Another thing
Did you do your earrings?
Yes, I did same process. They're all, it's basically melted and then reassembled.
Okay.
And that's what I enjoy doing. And again, that kind of falls back to that torn edge theme that I'd referred to. I guess I was never one of those people that thought, oh, this is what I want to do. I have always had a lot of diverse interests. I have dabbled in a lot of different things. And when I went off to college here at UW, I didn't go into college thinking I was going to be an art person. However, when I think back over all of those early years and I reflect a bit, I think, what was I good at? And I think what I was good at was making dioramas and public speaking. And so if I reflect and say, if I put both of those things together, what did I do with most of my career? I made things and I spoke in front of groups. So it's strange to think that, although I didn't know it then, I was building an interest toward arts and towards education. I thought about a few different options for retirement. One was I thought I would do the art fair circuit, buy an RV and throw my dog in there and travel around and do art fairs. And I started when I was still teaching doing some of those, locally, at least within kind of a tri-state area. And I realized I didn't love it as much as I thought. I liked this. Once I was set up, I liked the talking with people. It's a lot of schlepping. I'm not getting younger. My knees aren't getting younger. It's a lot of carrying of things. You're dependent on weather. So although I started with that, I thought, nope, that's not going to work. I wanted to try to establish something that met needs in the community. I think people want experiences. People want to get out and do things with friends and with family. And, rather than, just maybe going out for dinner, which I love as well. I love going out for dinner, but it's the experience that I wanted to provide for people. And I guess I just wanted to take a chance. I also like making links and chains. I don't know quite why, because they can be quite tedious, but things like this that incorporate a variety of different link styles and lots of little soldering, is something that I really kind of enjoy creating. As well as if you look at like this necklace, it's basically a lot of links put together in a different way. So, the different shapes that can be assembled just like on this long chain in different kind of ways that please my eye. I can't speak to other people's eye. I don't know that I recommend it. I don't think one should retire, get a second mortgage, and take on a lease when you've never run a business. But honestly, it's been a lot of fun. It's almost 2 years now that I've been doing this, and I have learned a ton. I've learned what I'm not good at, definitely, and I am avoiding those things. No, I'm getting better at it. The most difficult? Well, for me, it's the business end of running a business. It's things like social media and marketing. I'm old enough that cusp of technology, I missed all that. So figuring out Instagram, figuring out how to self-promote, doing spreadsheets and bookkeeping, it's those business aspects. And many people have said, well, Sue, did you do a business class? There's lots of business classes you could take. I'm like, no, and I don't want to. If I had done a business class, I would have never jumped in. I just jumped in. I think the best part has been meeting people of all different walks of life that I was limited in the classroom with who I was engaging with, but meeting people of all different kinds of life and hearing about their journey and why they were in my studio taking a class or what their other interests were. I think it's just being part of a larger community, and I've enjoyed that. For some reason, I've always enjoyed making rings. And again, these are raw edged rings. I'm doing the same process. I don't know if you can see them that I mentioned in the bracelet, but then incorporating little bits like that's some 14 karat gold that's in there that kind of holds them together. But those kinds of organic, chunky looks are what I'm drawn to. I think it's interesting when you work with youth, they dive right in. There's not that piece where you're self-reflecting and thinking of all the times maybe you didn't succeed in an artistic way. There's not that self-regulation is much more there in adults. So what I've learned with my beginners is that you just have to go little step at a time. So one step, and then we build. And then we build on that. And so it's not that different than education where you're scaffolding your lessons. You're just doing it in more of a product-based direction. So that was one of the things that was different for me is, in education, there are standards and goals and learning targets, and, you're building to a curriculum. My studio has mainly make and take type classes. So I've got make and take as well as a series where you're building skills. The make and take was harder for me to adjust to teaching because it felt irrelevant. It had this sense of, well, why? Why do I want to teach someone to come in and make a ring and leave and I never see them again? And I realized my why was because it was fun. It's fun to watch people succeed, and they come in and they do something they've never done, and I can roll it out slowly so that it makes sense. And then once people have their basic skills, they can just kind of go with it from there. Right now, I've got some limited hours, and that's because I have other things that I do. And I see increasing hours. I would love to be able to hire someone to pick up maybe some of this more stained glass classes, and I focus more on the metal. I'd like to develop more of an advanced tier and do more like retreat workshops, things along those lines, because right now I'm tapping into a lot of beginners, and I love that. But I want someplace for those people to go after they've done 2 or 3 classes. Mm-hmm. I want them to be able to come in and do maybe more of a immersive, maybe a 3-day workshop or something along those lines. I was thinking of this because I was looking at these. They came by and they had a fabulous story. They had been married like 45 years. And every year they would go to an art fair and they would pick out an artist and buy new wedding rings. And they took their old wedding rings, and he said they had a little shelf and they had each year of different wedding rings. And what was fun for me is they picked rings from me that year, and they looked very similar to this, but even chunkier with a lot more going on. And I think of that story about how so many of us get one thing and we stick with it, and they were embracing new each year. And I've kind of tried to remember that in my own process, trying to embrace new, because the comfort is more in the familiar. So trying to try new ways to fatigue that metal and work with that metal and push it to the limits is for me trying something new. The name of my business is Torn Edge Arts. And that name came, when I started doing art fairs and I needed to have a business name. It came years back. I had gone through, and I think many people I know have had hard times in their life, whether it's a divorce or a death in the family or an illness, whatever it might be. You heal and you grow from those hard times, those difficult times. And there's some beauty that's left over in that kind of torn edge that's inside us. And that's where the name came from. The torn edge in us actually makes us strong and has a place of beauty. For my own self, I found that working with my hands, working with other people, building bonds through creating was extremely healing. And for most people, I think that's true. Right. You're right. Yeah. You get kind of immersed in it, right? Along with, I'm working with torches. And so you really, I try to focus on what I'm doing, not like this all over the place, because I don't really want to blow up, you know? So yeah, there's definitely that focus that comes in, but you're right. You're using mind, body, and partly soul when you're all steps of the way, whether you're designing and creating, or you're actually, doing the problem solving that's inside of these designs, or if, when you're actually producing and then trying to share that little story of what you've made, maybe with others, in hopes that they would appreciate it and take it home and love it also. One thing that I have done that I really want to mention, I have joined an organization called Wisconsin Metalsmiths, and it's WIM, W-I-M for short. So Wisconsin Metalsmiths is a guild that offers workshops, that offers virtual as well as in-person learning opportunities, chances for us to share our processes, our tool tips, our techniques. And for me as an independent artist, that has really helped me grow. And it's a place I'm putting a lot of my focus. And so recently I've done 2 different workshops, one on using cold joining and layering, and another on making hinges. And so then that motivates me to say, okay, now I'm going to get in the studio and practice these things. So that, independently from running my Torn Edge Arts business, has helped me and is going to continue to help me grow as an artist. I guess I just want to encourage people to try something new, whether it is taking a metal class or a stained glass class or a ceramics class or trying a paint and sip, or, get out of your comfort zone, try something totally different. For me, it would be like a painting class. I recently took a painting class. Whether it's in my studio or just anywhere in your life, it could be a cooking class. Get out of your comfort zone, try something new. I have met so many wonderful people doing something that, 6 years ago, I never would have imagined I'd be doing. And it's all growth, and it makes me really happy. And thank you for letting me share kind of some of these little tidbits with the Layered Onion. If anyone is interested in pursuing either jewelry making or basic metal smithing, I would invite you to go to my webpage. It's Torn Edge Arts Metalsmith Studio. It should pop up. I've got classes offered there. I've got events offered there. And if you are more advanced in your metalsmithing journey, I would recommend going to Wisconsin Metalsmiths and looking at the opportunities and considering joining our guild. This is Sue Moberly, and this has been The Layered Onion.